My Father Took Away My Innocence. It is the title of a book written by our next guest as we continue to reflect on gender-based violence. She was raped by her own biological father for a period of 6 years. It all started when she was only 7 until she fell pregnant at 13. Our guests believe that the book will be able to heal a lot of people because one way or another, we all know a person who was raped, and for those who are still being raped and not able to speak out about it, this book, she says that it will help them in coming out. Zizo Apleni is the author, and she says that she has forgiven and found healing. She joins us now live in our studio as we continue to reflect on the 16 days of activism against women and child abuse. Good afternoon to you, Zizo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Palisa.
So how has Joburg been for you?
Oh, it has been good.
Yeah.
It's been good very much. I enjoyed my stay here so far. It's been good.
All right. I gave a bit of background to the origin of your book, but tell us how it all began.
It all began in the year 2001 when my parents were not married. So my father asked that I go live with him in Umtata because of better schools there, and so I went to live there. But before 2001, in the year 2000, we had developed a relationship with my father, so I had trusted him, and he had become that superhero of a dad, and that is how I saw him in my eyes. So when it came to me living with him, I also found that he was abusive towards my stepmother. And one day when this happened, and he hit my stepmother, and she flee for home, and that was the night that he started raping me. And it continued for 7 more years, until I fell pregnant. And in the mind of a child in those years, I did not know what was happening to me was wrong.
All right, so let's just go back a bit. So at the time when this started happening, your stepmother was no longer staying with you.
So she was here. She just left for that particular day that they had a fight.
But that's when it started happening.
Yes, it started happening. And then she came back, life carried on, but whenever they had a fight or she had to go home, then whenever there was an opportunity that we were left, only the both of us, then he would rape me.
And you were 7 at that time?
Yes.
So you say that you did not know anything.
Yes.
You didn't think what your father was doing to you was wrong. You actually thought that every girl your age then was going through the same thing.
Yes. I thought my friends were going through the same thing because no one was speaking about it. I had no knowledge of sex at that age. I did not know what was going on. I just thought, oh, this is how it is supposed to be. And because my friends at school are not talking about it, why should I speak about it?
So how did it all happen? What would he say to you, or would he just jump into your bed?
No, he would be like the first night he asked me to touch his private part, and for me it was okay. I didn't even think that okay, this is taboo. I just went on, he guided my hand into touching his private part, and then he lifted me up to sit in a squatting position on top of him, and he pushed me down to sit on top of him, and that is how he penetrated. And then he put me underneath him after some time, and then when he was done, he went on to open a bath full of cold water, and he carried me there, bridal style, and put me in the water.
And this is your
me.
Biological father
Yes.
we're talking about here?
Yes.
And all of this eventually came out when you fell pregnant at the age of 13. Talk to us about that.
When it came out, I was living in a boarding school in Kumcha, and I was living with my boarding master. So I got sick at school, and an ambulance was called, and I was taken to the nearest clinic. And then when I was there, the doctor tested me, all kinds of blood pressures and everything like that, and he decided that okay, let's just take a pregnancy test for Jay, and when he did, it came out positive. I did not know what that meant for me, and I went home. So the following day I was told not to get ready for school, and my mom is coming to fetch me. And when she did come to fetch me, and she asked me how did I get pregnant at such a young age, how was it
Did you even know then what sex was or what pregnancy was?
No, not at all. I knew nothing. So I asked my mother, like, okay, Mom, please just explain to me how how a person gets pregnant and how does it happen. And she started to tell me that, oh, well, a boy takes their penis and all of that. And I was like, oh, okay, my father does that to me, you know. And she was shocked, but she reassured me that it was not my fault or anything, and that I shouldn't be afraid of what's going to happen. But still, at that moment, I did not know what was going on. We went to the police the same day. He was arrested that same day. Yeah, so, but to me, it was after some time that my mom had given me a phone, and I had to search on the internet site on what rape is actually, you know. So that is how I was able to know
to make
what
sense
it, yeah,
of
to
what
make
was
sense of it, of what was happening.
Yeah, and you know, in so many cases, parents, relatives, and families never believe their children when they tell of such things.
Yes.
And from what I read in your book, your relatives from your father's side,
yes,
they didn't believe, because part of what you say on the book, as I quote, my aunt's reaction to the fact that I was raped by her brother cut through me deep and hard. I desperately wanted her to believe me and show me support, but I received neither from her. So this is the ordeal that you had to go through.
Yes.
Families not really believing that your own father raped you.
Yes, it was hectic, because when we are at the court setting, we had to. There was a place for victims and a place for the perpetrators, but we would always meet up in the corners of the courtrooms whenever I needed to go to the bathroom, and they were never silent about how they felt. They were howling words, like swearing at me and my mother and my family for what we did. We could hear all of that, and it was just so sad like that. And now to think of it, that other women are capable of treating other women that way.
And you also say that you've been failed by the justice system with this particular trial. What had happened? Because it certainly sounds like it dragged for quite some time.
Yes. So we reported the case in 2007, but I only went to court to stand in the court of law in 2011. In all of that time, there was so much happening. When we went to court, we traveled from East London. Sometimes we had to travel, the victims had to travel from long distances to the place whereas the perpetrator only walked for like 5 minutes to the courthouse. And when we got there, we would be told that the court is adjourned, the docket is missing, or he's not feeling well, or his lawyer is not present. So we had to go back and we had to wait.
But your father is in prison now.
He is in prison now.
For what? Do you know?
No.
Is it for the same thing that he did to you, or is
when
it a
he
different case altogether?
When he confessed to me in 2017, he did say that he's there because he was convicted of the crime that he did to me.
So he eventually confessed to
Yes.
raping you.
Yes.
And where was the family, his family, who had said you were lying about all of this?
We did call them to also ask him to confess in front of them. So they were able to see that he did confess to his crime.
So you say that you've healed?
Yes.
You have forgiven?
Yes.
How did that come about? For me, sitting here, listening to your story, it makes me angry. And I don't know how you've arrived at that particular point to say that I forgive this father of mine who was supposed to protect me, but instead violated me.
Yes.
How did you get here? It certainly has been a process, isn't it?
Yes, it has been. It hasn't been easy at all, because but there was a time in my life that I decided, no man, this person, he was a teacher. And when he was arrested on that day, he went the following day when he went back to school, he resigned, took out his pensions, and he lived his life as if nothing had happened. And his community, his family was supporting him while I was out there getting sick and all of that. So I decided I needed to forgive this guy for my own sanity and peace. So it was a personal decision that I took for myself, to forgive him and decide to move on.
Did you tell him that you forgave him?
Yes,
because in 2017 you met him for that a victim offender program by the department. Did you even ask him why? Did you ask him, Dad, why did you do this to me?
I did, but he did not have a response for it.
So you fell pregnant at the age of 13. Where is the baby now?
During the time when I was when he was arrested and all of that, I was scheduled to do a medical TOP, termination of pregnancy, but earlier than that time I had a miscarriage, so I lost the baby. So, and we only found out, but I did go to the hospital to go do a DNC cleaning, but when we were in court, we heard that those results didn't count for anything because there was only clots that were left there because of the miscarriage.
So you miscarried.
Yes.
Okay. But then part of some of the chapters you reflect on the dating part of your life, and
Yes.
you were saying to me this morning when I was having this conversation with you that you had a fear for men.
Yes.
And obviously this had an impact on your growing up, becoming the woman you are now.
Yes.
Take us through that journey. Have you found healing? You've forgiven. What do you see in men? Do you still have that phobia in men?
No, not at all. I have come to an understanding that not all men are the same. In as much as my father did what he did to me, but there are some other good men out there. Fortunately for me, I have been all my life surrounded by good men. My uncles were good men, and they were never a threat to me in my life. So I decided that in as much as my dad was this man that he was, but there are also good men out there. So I would always be giving men the benefit of the doubt that they would never hurt me or anything like that. And that, I believe, that is what also forgiveness does to a person, really, to know that, yes, this person has hurt you, but there's also some good in the other people who are the same gender as him that you would always see.
And you talk a bit about this on your chapter 14, My Dating Life.
Yes, I do talk about that. I did date in my life, and the guy that I dated at the time did not make me feel as though I should be scared of him or anything like that. I felt safe, when I was with him, and I was able to open up about many other things, and yeah, so that's how it happened.
But Zizo, as I say that, it's been quite a journey for you,
Yes.
and certainly not an easy one. Chapter 13, you talk about hating yourself.
Yes.
This was still in a process where you were still trying to make sense of the events that you had to go through. Just briefly tell us about this hurting myself chapter.
I would find myself trying to kill myself. I would find myself trying to drinking pills, cutting myself, because I did not understand how my father, the person who was supposed to be protecting me, and to see my uncles, how they acted in front of their daughters, how they loved their daughters, how they wanted to protect their daughters, and to think that my father did not feel the same way for me. So that hurt me to the core, and that I felt that there was no point for me really to be in this world. I did not find, I had no purpose for myself. So there were times that I just decided that I needed to end my life right here and right now.
So we are currently observing the 16 days of activism against women and children abuse in South Africa. And during this time, of course, that's when we get to reflect on stories such as yours. There may be someone watching this interview who's been through what you've been through, but has not found that healing moment in her life, and I would imagine that is sort of holding them back to live their lives. What would your message be to them, and what are you hoping to achieve with this book?
My message to other victims out there is that it does not end there. Definitely, I believe that God wouldn't let some things happen in our life for no purpose. So one day, someday, you will find your purpose. And I would also like to say that forgiveness is one of the most, I don't even know what to say. If I could put it out, that it's a gift that we've been given by God to be able to forgive someone, so that you'd be able to move on with your life. Because once you are stagnant in that place of unforgiveness, life doesn't move on for you, because you're always watching that other person's step, trying to find out what is happening in their lives. Are they living a lavish life while I'm here being depressed, not being able to forgive. But once you forgive that person, you release all the anger and the pain that you have towards them. And that is where your process of healing begins.
You know, we had Linda Maponyane in studio last week with the same story. Now, listening to her and your story this afternoon, it actually makes me believe that indeed God gives his toughest battles to his strongest children. So thank you so much for coming. I know this is your first television interview, but you've been brave in narrating your story. We wish you everything of the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You so much.
All right.